Vincenzo'S Gold Crypto Investing is April the 23rd, 2025. Early morning cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, gold, and silver bullion update. And if you know, and you've been following this channel, you know we're the industry best uh, with truth, trust, education, and information, most importantly. And you can see the US dollar. I'm on my screen there. The US dollar is sitting there trying to gain some brief support below that 100.733 level. It bottomed out at about 97.87, which is a multi-year low. It is the lowest since about April of 2022, so about a 3-year low. And as we do know, when the dollar is falling, the value of things that you purchase with US dollars goes down. So it costs more to use US currency. We've been in this 21, 22-year rising channel ever since the 2008 to 2010 financial collapse, where we had this bottom that formed in the US dollar after the bottom fell out, and that formed this rising wedge at the start of it. You can see during the financial collapse, the US dollar from 2001 through about 2009 lost 41.33% of its value, right? Massive loss. And then we've been on this rising channel ever since, which we know rising channels are bullish continuation patterns, as you've seen here for the last 2 decades, but bearish reversal patterns after they finally conclude. And technical targets on the breakout are at the bottom of the wedge, or where the wedge started, which would be all the way down at 75.721, which would be very bearish for the dollar, but would be very bullish for gold. That is having a sell-off today and a correction after nearly hitting our target, reaching a new all-time high yesterday at $3,497 and change. Now we're having a correction to be expected. At some point, there's going to be a bigger correction because we've been in one epic bull run and pump up to the upside ever since about 2023. Since about the fall time of 2022, it's primarily been straight up. In the weekly, we've had a few slight corrections in the weekly, like we've seen back here at the end of the year, where we went down about 9% in the weekly. And then about a year earlier, the same type of correction, we went down about 7% in the weekly, right? So we'll see what happens here over the next year or two with the US dollar. If it does confirm a breakdown out of that 21, 22-year rising channel, and to see if a bearish target does get hit, or if it can't get some support, can't get some momentum and some relative strength back into the market and push back into the rising channel. If we look at the Bitcoin price here this morning, you can see we had a ferocious rally last night that we talked about, areas that we've been talking about for a couple of days. But we actually got up to 91,000 and change. And if we look at the 4 hourly now, you can see we're at 93,800. And the volume continues to come down in the 4 hourly as the price continues to slither up. And if we look at the daily, you can see yesterday we did have a peak in volume, or was that 2 days ago? Nope, that was yesterday. We had a peak in volume. So we'll see what happens today, because what I think is going to happen today in the Bitcoin price, if we go back into the hour time frame, is I think you're going to at some point slither back down. And you can see in the hour time frame, the price is slithering up, but the volume is slithering down. So it's been front loaded with volume here. I think at some point we're going to come back and we're going to trade down. We're going to lose the upwards momentum, and we're going to come retest this 90,000. And that's going to be your critical spot. Can you hold that as support, or is it going to be flipped to a confirmed resistance zone? Because this is the first time you're coming up to retest it after that double bottom that signified that we could have a nice rally 2 weeks ago, that we followed through, saying that we thought the 90,000 would be your max upper end potential. It did go past it a little bit, but I think that's going to be your next critical area when it comes back down to retest that 90,000, exactly how it interacts and plays with it. Another thing that's interesting is you're seeing the moving averages for the first time in a long time trend upwards now with this most recent pump. You can see we're attempting to have in a few days, potentially a bearish cross or a bullish cross, where the 100 could get above the 200-day moving average, or the 50 could get above the 100-day moving average, which would be a very interesting thing and something that we're going to follow here over the next several days. If we look at the XRP price, it's the same thing. We've pumped up sufficiently now above the, get that out of there, above the major neckline, holding it as now support, right? It's confirming it as support, and that's very critical as this is going to be interesting the next couple of days, even though the volume in the daily time frame you can see hasn't really been uh, you can see the volume there to the volume on this most recent pump. It's overdone. It's confirmed the hold on the neckline. And you can see where it's at now. It's pumped up above the 100-day moving average. And what I would like to see now, and what I think is going to happen over the next couple of days, is I think just like the Bitcoin, it will come eventually back down and retest this neckline. And that's going to be the critical time when it comes back down to retest the neckline. Does it hold it as major support, or does it give it back as major underneath resistance, right? If we scroll down here to some of these coins, uh, ZBCN, I know Jabroni Killer members like it. You can see we did dip down to a all-time low, maybe, or pretty close. Let's zoom out to the daily. We did. We did come all the way down from the last time we talked about it. You can see the moving averages have trended much lower. We'll move them down to the correct area. Get rid of that one. Move that down. Move that down. And you can see we did flush through that critical support area that we were talking about. And we did wick all the way down nearly to an all-time low, an area that we've been, it looks like once, twice, now a third time. And now this would be an area that you would think you would try to bounce back up in this coin. And this is something that got a lot of hype when it had the major pump back in February, and it went up a lot very fast. And now look at it, it wicked back below from where it started. But if we zoom in now, and I warned about that back then when this video was coming out, now you can see what it's doing is it's rallying back up to this major resistance level that we have broken back above, which is a critical area that you need to stay above, which is down here at the point zero, a bunch of zeros, 8574. You need to confirm above that and try to get back into this red trading support and resistance box above uh the critical hour time frame moving averages, but north of these critical sellers, where a lot of sellers are right here. There's a lot of sellers here waiting to sell on you, and you need to confirm and hold above this 8574, and then you need to fight and crawl and scratch your way above the 9148 level, right? So that's something that we're going to be looking at. Matic has also had a nice return rally the last couple of days. You can see we bounced off of an all-time low that we called, and old Vincenzo called this way back here when this dinosaur came out. When we were in that COVID-induced blow-off top, we told you this thing would give back everything. We had Vincenzo predicts all-time low, which was just beneath the all-time low, and this thing is rejected all the way down. And we're only talking about it because Jabroni Killer members uh, wanted me to talk about it. But we made price discovery to the downside. Now, if we can get any kind of rally sustain, you would try to think you can make a run back up to 29 cents. And obviously, that would be a major overhead resistance. And obviously, if you wanted to continue some kind of bullishness after this 4-year bearishness to the shithouse, you would have to get back above that 29 cents, but that would be an area that would be a major area of upper resistance. And any kind of turn to the downside, it's price discovery, could go down 5% to a new low, could go down 25% or 99%. It's in price discovery. It's been in the shit house. It's been falling fast for 4 years. Corm, you can see we bounced off this critical 10 cents. It's an area that we thought we might have. You could have a big rally because you're bouncing off of nearly the all-time low, one support level above the all-time low. We had a nice initial rally. We got rejected. Now it looks like we could have a miniature cup and handle forming here where you have this, the handle. And if it did break to the upside target would be all the way up here where we have pointed at it in the green arrow at 20 cents. Any kind of rejection and fall down below 10 cents, you're coming down to the 0.06470 level. Like the channel, subscribe, become members of the cheapest and industry best value members of Jabroni Killers in the video description and or the pinned comment. Remember, you are helping spread the word, the message, the movement with truth, trust, education, and information. Peace and love, the Rex Eyebrow, J.E.